Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, and welcome to the latest episode of the Hard Compound Live. 1 hour earlier than usual. It's all good. There's plenty of you tuning in. Lovely. For those of you who don't know, my name's Rich and I run and operate the Hard Compound. We're a one-stop shop for all things motorsport, and we can be found on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram mainly, where we put out 3 written articles a day. In the morning, lunchtime, and in the evening here in the UK. These take the form of race reviews, race previews, throwbacks, breaking news, livery reveals. We've had some this week for F1, and anything else that we can shake a stick at, really. And we cover everything from F1 to IndyCar to touring cars to NASCAR, rallying, bikes, and everything else in between, as and when we can. Excuse me. So yes, do give us a search on Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram and Twitter. Search for the Hard Compound, come along and join in the fun. We've got some good motorsport stuff for you. We're here to share a love of it. So come along for the ride. In case you hadn't noticed, we also do live video interviews, just like this one. And just like this one, these are streamed on our Facebook, our Twitter, and our YouTube channel. They're also saved in the video section on Facebook and the live section on YouTube. We've done nearly 150 of these. Had some fantastic guests. I'm not going to name them all, but from across the motorsport spectrum, various series, various eras, guys from like Mario Andretti and Jackie Ickx and Chip Ganassi and Hans Stuck and Brian Redman, through to guys like Will Power and Alex Palou and Stefan Johansson, David Brabham, Carl Wendlinger, Emanuele Pirro. Just recently, we've spoken with Mr. Johnny Molam. We've spoken with Alex Tagliani. We've spoken with Indy 500 winners, Le Mans winners, touring car races, and much, much more. We've also spoken to a couple of our Dutch friends in the form of Arie Luijendijk and Tom Coronel, which leads us very nicely on to our guest this evening, another Dutch chap, completing the hat trick for Holland. He's raced in Formula One and IndyCar, numerous single-seater series. He's done a bit of GT racing as well. And he was the last driver to be signed by Minardi, which is very, very cool. So without any further ado, we're going to bring him in right now, because you haven't tuned in to listen to me, I'm sure. Please join me in extending a very warm welcome to Mr. Robert Doornbos.
Good evening.
Good evening, Robert. How are you?
I am very well, thank you. Thank you for this beautiful introduction.
Well, yes, it could have used to be longer, and I used to get out of breath, so I had to shorten it a bit.
No, well done. Well done.
Well, firstly, thank you very much. Thank you very much for coming on and having a chat this evening. I know you've been very busy out at Zandvoort today, so thanks very much for coming on.
Sure, yeah. I was at the track. It's unbelievable if you get there. Obviously, in September it was the big Formula One weekend, and I don't know if you've ever been to Zandvoort, but it's a small beach place with a beautiful circuit.
Yeah.
And for one weekend, this changes into this international Formula One party zone, and now all the grandstands are gone again. So it's a small racetrack, Zandvoort, as we know it. It's so weird. It goes very fast, but. It was good to be there. I did a seminar and I did some laps in the Porsche with some people around the circuit, so all good.
No, that's very cool, very cool. Yeah, I mean, I must admit, I haven't actually been to Zandvoort for a race meeting, but you can see I've got my Assen t-shirt here from 2018, and we popped in we went over the dike there and stopped into Zandvoort on the way home. And as you say, this was before they did all the work to it, and yeah, I was standing there thinking, by modern standards, it was kind of crazy that F1 used to go there, and obviously now it does. But it's such a cool little place on the coast there, isn't it? And fantastic.
It is.
And it's a fantastic place for the circuit as well, in the dunes.
Yeah, I think all the drivers, I did the interviews with the drivers after the race, all of them were still shaking from adrenaline after qualifying, and it's particularly after the race. Because it's really a hold your breath type of circuit, you know. It's almost too small for Formula One, but that makes it really cool.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially with the work that's been done, to the circuit. I particularly like the last corner, the banked corner. I think we all.
The
Arie Luijendijk bocht. I spoke with Arie shortly after it was named after him, and he said, "I don't know why they chose me, but." It's cool.
Well, we do. We have to be honest. I still have my Indy 500 helmet here.
Yeah.
When Arie was my coach, and this is a helmet that we put in all the former winners in a paint job. We put on
that's
them.
Cool.
There was the Centurion edition. Really nice. So Ari's, I think Ari's somewhere here. It must be a very old picture, but he's there somewhere.
Because when he had lots of hair.
But he was a great mentor to have. I mean, as a spotter, I think he lost a little bit of his eyesight, so I wasn't so comfortable having him as my spotter anymore. But great, he's a legend in the US.
Yeah, absolutely. He's a very cool guy. I actually caught up with him at the 500 in 2022, and he took us into the garages where we weren't actually allowed, but he took us in, and he took us into like Rinus VK's garage, and yeah, it was very cool. He's a cool guy.
Nice. It's the first time I use this platform. The first time I'm on your show, and I see on the right hand side, I see all the comments coming in.
Yeah.
Of Keith, that's a super cool helmet, but also about the memorabilia I have here in my man cave. Well, maybe this has some explaining to do.
Yes, definitely.
Here. It's on the wall. This is an original Michael Schumacher 2004 overalls when I was also in F1, and he was my superhero. And he signed it, so it's quite cool. And there's a rumor going on the internet that he might be out of his coma, and that he actually witnessed his daughter getting married. I think last weekend or last week. So not sure what's true. I mean, time will tell. If they want to bring it out, the family they will. But I thought it was a nice gesture to him, the big Michael. Hopefully he can come back.
Yeah, absolutely. And if that is true, then it's then it's news that we've all wanted to hear, isn't it?
Exactly.
Because what happened to him was really awful. And
this one is memorabilia. This is original steering wheel of Max Verstappen in 2021 when he won the World Championship.
Nice.
Red Bull had 5 of the wheels that he used that year, and I got 1 of them. So
wow.
That's really cool to have. Yeah.
That's very cool.
He still has his number 33 on there because in 2021 when he won the championship. So I use it for seminars. I explain that. I see that my little son touched it as well. I see small fingerprints on there. It's like 50,000 pounds, one of those wheels. So
wow, that's amazing. That kind of makes my the only thing I've got here is like my signed replica Nigel Mansell Ferrari one.
Lovely.
Yours is cooler. You win. No, fantastic. Just going to put that back there. Oh, hang on a second. No, I'm not going to put it there. Otherwise, it will fall on the floor. Anyway, no, great. That's very, very cool. Lots of comments in the comment section.
Yeah, nice. So where does your passion for motor racing come from?
Mine, basically, wow, I'm being interviewed. This is cool. It was this guy here, which is Nigel Mansell. I was 5 years old. I was playing with cars, and I was given this little Formula One little Matchbox car, and I asked my dad what it was, and he told me. And
cool.
And the rest is history. It's kind of gone from F1 to touring cars to bikes and everything, and it's kind of taken over as it does. But
I know the feeling.
Yeah, it's very, very cool. Right, okay, guys, very cool. I'm just going to say hello to some people in the comment section. We've got Keith Mail and what we got here, Sam Wallbank, and I follow Ronaldo on Twitter. Our good friend Nicky from over at the Nürburgring. Hello, man. Hope you're good. Oliver Taylor and a few others as well. If you've got any comments or questions, do put them in, and we'll work them in as we go. But I guess the best place to start, Robert, is right at the start-ish for you, because you've got a slightly different story in how you got into motorsport, haven't you? It wasn't your first kind of love, really, was it?
No, it wasn't. Actually, it was Wimbledon was my first love, and then later on it became Silverstone. If I had to choose between the two English legendary places,
it's pretty cool.
I love playing tennis. I was into sports always. I watched Formula One on TV, but I never knew that there was a whole ladder to the top. My dad wasn't into racing at all, and he loved fast cars and he loved Formula One. But I was just playing tennis 5 days a week in the weekend competition, and I thought, okay, I'm going to Wimbledon. This is my goal. This is my target. I was in the Dutch junior team for a few years, and then the moment came. What you had with Nigel Mansell, I had with Jacques Villeneuve. My dad invited me to join him to go to the Belgium Grand Prix in '98. So Spa-Francorchamps 98. What happened in turn 1?
The big one.
The big one. Probably a piece of McLaren here somewhere. I took it from that incident.
Oh, well done. Well
Yeah,
done. I'd have
why
done
not?
the same thing.
Why not? I'm there, take it. So Komatsu, who's now the big sponsor of Williams, back in the days was always a small sponsor, but it was the company my dad used to work with. And so we got really good tickets, like inside the pit box, pedal club tickets,
Wow.
but part of the team. So I got to meet the team, I got to meet the drivers, and I was having lunch when Jacques Villeneuve was sitting next to me, and I was a 16-year-old kid from Rotterdam. And I just said to him, wow, you have a really cool job. How did you get here? But I didn't do my homework very well. He said, my dad could drive quite well. I said, who's your dad? Yeah, Gilles Villeneuve. Ah, okay. So I said, what age did you start? He said, well, I used to ski a lot as a professional skier. Then I started racing when I was 16. I was like, I'm 16. Why not? He said, yeah, forget about it. Skip the go-karting, go straight into Formula cars. So that's what I did. I had a great weekend there, and then I said to my dad, we should go straight into Formula cars and try it out. He thought it was a good idea, so he called the race team, went to Zandvoort, the car was there. I did 4 laps. In lap number 4, I was just as fast as their current driver, and in lap number 5, it was completely silent around the track, and I took all the corners off. I hit a big crash into turn 4, and the car was destroyed. So the team said the guy has potential, but he needs to learn a little bit probably, and needs to find his limits. Yeah. So that's where it all started. And 4 years after that, I made my debut in Formula One, and I was standing next to Jacques Villeneuve on the grid in Hockenheim. So
that's
very, very
incredible. Exciting. 4 years to go from.
I did Formula 3, Formula 2. Well, 2 years Formula 3, Formula 2, Formula 1.
Wow, that's I find it amazing that now. I mean, this wasn't that long ago, but even now, there's no way that someone could just go, "Oh, I'm going to go Formula Ford racing," and there's even fewer that could be really, really quick, which you obviously were. I mean, were you surprised that you were so quick?
I was surprised that it went so smooth initially, and then I wasn't scared about crashing because I thought, okay, it's all part of the learning process. I know after a few crashes that my dad wrote me a letter saying that, are you really interested in the sport because it's getting expensive? In the first year you need support from somebody, right? If in go-karting you get it from your family, your uncle. So there's no sponsors when you start racing. You just have to prove yourself. So I was lucky enough to have my dad's company be able to support me in my first year in Formula Ford, and then I went to Formula 4. But then afterwards, I started winning races and getting podiums. I was like, okay, this is cool. I'm getting good at this. I just need to work harder than anybody else. So what I decided to do is to make up for maybe the talent that I didn't have, the super talent, but I had good enough talent to win races. I just went to the gym a lot, and I got trainers and physios, and I said, I want to be the fittest guy out there. So at least while driving, I don't need to worry about that part. And I think it helped me a lot. So, and I learned by doing, and I never won a championship. I finished second or third in the championship, but it was enough always to make an impact in your first year, and then move up.
Yeah, I think that's the thing that has come out of a lot of these chats that I've done with these different people. I said certainly in the junior series, despite what people think these days, you have to win and then you'll move up and everything else like that. If you can make yourself kind of known, you just catch someone's eye, do something. Even if you're in a bad car and you do better than you should do in the bad car, that's as good as winning. It's just getting noticed, which I guess is what you found as well. Let's talk quickly about the kind of like feeder series as they're now known. Obviously, you did some F4. From the research, I saw that you F4, some Formula Ford, sorry, and you did, and you won some races and had some podiums and had some success and came second in a championship, I believe. I did see that you did the Formula Vauxhall Lotus Winter Series. That was your first time in a slicks and wings type car, was it?
And that was the first time driving with aerodynamics, because we all know Formula Ford is like sitting in your bathtub with wheels on it and an engine. Driving a wing car was a good way to prepare myself for Formula 3, which was a big step up from Formula Ford. And it was a fun championship. I did the Opel Series in the UK, Scotland. Went to places like Knock Hill.
Knock Hill.
Where, yes.
Cold and wet.
He said, there are two options here today, mate. I can't do the Scottish accent, but he said there are two options. Either it's about to rain or it's already pissing down. I said, thank you.
Yeah, there's the saying they have, the hill, the actual hill at Knock Hill. They said, if you can see the top, they said, if you can't see the top, it's raining. And if you can see the top, it's about to.
That was probably it. Yeah, that was the right one. That was the one.
Yeah. It's a cool circuit, though, to learn at, isn't it?
Really nice with the bumps going downhill. And I mean, England has some of the best facilities to start as a young driver. When I was so young, I said, okay, here in the Benelux, I'm not going to learn anything. I need to move to the UK. So I went to glamorous places like Snetterton, obviously Knock Hill in Scotland, and testing at Donington Castle, Donington Park, everywhere. So good learning curve.
Yeah, we've got a lot of old airfields that we've turned into racetracks, which is pretty.
Yeah,
cool.
I did. What was it? The one I won at Formula 3, British Formula 3, Thruxton.
Thruxton, yeah, that's about 45-minute drive that way for me.
Yeah, but that's a flat airfield as well, right? With just the grass is the natural track limit, and off you go. Yeah,
it's a proper circuit. I want to get onto actually the F3 because you did a bit of the Formula Vauxhall Lotus, as we said. You did the Benelux series, as you said, in Formula Ford. One thing I do want to touch on, though, you did before we go into F3, you did the Formula Ford Festival at Brands Hatch, didn't you?
I did.
Which obviously way back in the day was like the big. It was a big.
It was
deal,
a big thing. Yeah, it was
to move up, and there's been some amazing winners of it. What was your experience of it? Was it your first time at Brands Hatch as well?
It was first time at Brands Hatch. No, I signed for an English team knowing that I wanted to do that. Sweeney Racing, I think it was called. So we did a test day at Brands Hatch, and I couldn't believe turn one, just falling into this. Here in Holland, we all had flat circuits, and that was it. And Belgium was the best one we have with obviously Spa. So Brands Hatch is quite a particular one. And I think the festival was something I really look forward to because you can measure yourself with the best out there. And I think it went really well. I qualified second for the finals. I was standing with Anthony Davidson on the grid.
Yeah.
But I was overhearing his interview, and he said to somebody, he said, yeah, all these heats I've done so far to get into the final, they were my most difficult races out of the probably thousands I've done. Wow, it's like 1,000 go-kart races in his life. It's crazy if you think about it. Maybe he was exaggerating a little bit, but let it be 300. That's already a lot. Because for me, it was my 12th race in my career. So I was like, fuck. Can I swear on this?
Yeah, of course you can.
Oh, okay.
So
I still need to learn a lot. And then what happened. The start was there. We went through turn one, and I kept sticking on the outside, which was the wrong place for turn two. And somebody hit me, and I went upside down. And I remember climbing out of the car. And then the marshal said to me, hey, you have a new website. A new website? Yeah, he said, I put a sticker on your car already. And I looked to my car, and it said, www.fuckup.com. Nice. So that was my introduction to English marshals at the festival speed. But it was really a highlight for my career and a nice way of finishing off. I was like, okay, I didn't win the final, didn't get the podium, but I think I've proved my worth. Now it's ready to go to F3.
Yeah, absolutely. And you mentioned the first turn at Brands Hatch. Very quickly, I want to touch on this. I mean, I've been there, not the weekend just gone. I went there the 2 weekends before for the British Touring Cars and the British GT. I've been about 5 or 6 times this year. Yeah. And every time I see Paddock Hill Bend, the first corner, even as a fan watching from the outside, it seems to get steeper every time. So God knows what it's like for you guys when
especially in a Formula Ford car, you sort of throw yourself in there in the bathtub and you're like, okay, here we go, see if we make it. But in the Formula 3 car and a wing car, when you have the aerodynamics, it's actually really cool. It's Eau Rouge upside down, and then with the compression down the hill back up, it's one of my favorite circuits ever.
Yeah. That's a cool line, actually, saying it's like Eau Rouge upside down. Someone has actually just commented in the section there. Sam Wallbank, he said, Brand's first bend is like a mini Spa, Eau Rouge. It shocks you.
I see it.
There you go. Spot on. We just mentioned about the Super League. We're going to come to Super League in a minute.
Super League, yeah.
I think you're the first guy I've ever spoken to who's like
the Super League. They had the
AC
biggest
Milan.
trophies. Their trophies were bigger than their championship. There was.
That's cool though. That's very cool. No, we'll come to Super League very, very soon. So yeah, obviously you did. So you've raced over here in the UK in Brands Hatch. I did see though on the grid that year there were guys like Anthony Davidson, as you said, who won it. There was Danica Patrick and James Courtney and Jaap van Laag. I mean, there was some serious talent on the grid.
Yeah, it was a big series back then. Formula 4 was really the step up to the next level. Formula 3. There were more big names coming in, like Nelsinho Piquet, Nico Rosberg, obviously, Lapierre, French guys. So I think the competition was just mega, particularly in the UK.
Yeah, absolutely. And you signed with was it Fred Goddard Racing, wasn't it? How did all that come together? Given that you'd only done 12 or so races.
Yeah, I can't remember actually. Fred, I think it was through a business partner of my dad or something, and we got to meet him, went to see a Formula 3 race. But if you drive a Formula 4 and you go and see a Formula 3 race, the sound, it just looks cool. You just want to be one of those guys, you know. And Fred offered me a nice deal of racing his Opel Lotus to prepare myself for Formula 3. And he had a scholarship car, which was previously driven by Gary Paffett.
Oh yeah,
Gary. I think he was
GT champion. Yeah.
Yeah, and then I could drive that car in the championship, learn the circuits, learn everything, and then step up to the European Series the year later. So it was a great time driving for Fred Goddard. I was worried at one stage when I saw him going to Silverstone and picking up all the broken wishbones from crashes and incidents and taking it back to his warehouse. I was like, what are you doing with this, right? He said, oh, nothing. I was always worried that he would sort of make it look new again and stick it on my car. You know, and then charge the sponsors the money. So Fred was somebody who really looks for the edge, but I think he's done well with his team.
Yeah, absolutely. And I guess we never found out if he did that or not.
No.
That's cool. And this thing in like Formula 3, I mean, you said there were lots of like circuits to learn, and we mentioned, you know, there was like you said like Thruxton, Snetterton, Croft, Brands Hatch, Castle Combe, the crazy little circuit just down the road.
Coombe, yeah.
That's crazy fast. Do a lot of club racing there. That looks like a lot of fun to drive around that one. And I saw that actually obviously you were in the scholarship class, but in the championship class, I just looked at some of the names that were on the grid, and you were sharing the track with these people, learning your trade, learning circuits, learning the car. And there was Takuma Sato, Gian Maria Bruni, and Andy Prio. These guys have all been on here for a chat, which is cool. But Anthony Davidson and Andre Lotterer, guys like that. I mean,
yeah.
And you're kind of sharing the track with these guys, and I guess trying to see what they're doing.
Yeah, of course. And they were really helpful as well, just giving tips and tricks. And I think Andre Lotterer was with James Courtney at Jaguar Racing at one stage, and Jaguar looked like, the bomb. You know, it was like a mini Formula 1 team, and it's always nice that you looked for the next step. I also remember going to Spa, the British Formula 3 was there, and I saw Antonio Pizzonia win the race. And the cars just sounded different. They looked fast. They looked like mini F1 cars. So as a young kid, you dream of becoming a Formula 3 driver and then doing well. And then you dream of becoming a Formula 3000 driver. I really did it in steps, but the steps went fast.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it was like one step, you know, every year almost. I mean, you did a bit of German F3, but was it 2002? I got here. Was it your first kind of full season in the German F3?
Yeah, that was a difficult series because it's hard with the different engines to be in the right team at the right time, Opel or Mercedes, and there was a lot of difference going on. Learning new tracks again, and then I did 1 year European afterwards in 2003.
Yeah,
and that was a fun series with I think Nico Rosberg was there, Piquet, and particularly if those championships come together at the end of the year in Macau and Korea,
Yeah.
There I finished, I think, second on the podium with Piquet and Kubica and Rosberg, all these guys. So it was really a nice way to end your Formula 3 career at those two races, Macau and Korea. Macau, the first time you go there, is just fucking nuts.
I mean, I mentioned we had Tom
Then I'm
Coronel
talking about the bars, not about the circuit.
yeah, the circuit's crazy as well, but it's a secondary thing. But yeah, I was saying we had your countryman Tom, Tom Coronel on here, and he said it's one of his favorite circuits in the world. He said it's just absolutely. He said the same thing. The first time you get there, you think, "What, we're racing on this thing?" And it's so fast as well for a street circuit.
Like you're doing the track walk, and you just can't believe it that you're, you drive with your rental car, you're doing 40, 50 kilometers an hour through that corner, and you say, okay, tomorrow you're doing 150 kilometers an hour with your Formula 3 car. And I was like, okay, but this is almost a 90-degree hairpin, It's just, it's weird, but it was such a cool experience. I will never forget it.
Yeah, that's awesome. And obviously, when you were in German F3, you were with like Team Ginzani, who obviously headed up by Piercarlo Ginzani. He's been around motorsport all his life, and he's raced in F1. I mean, I guess he and his team must have been a really big help to you, just getting used to the car and the series and everything.
Yeah, and it was cool. I lived in Italy back then. I was preparing myself at a place called Formula Medicine. It's like a physical school for drivers. It's run by Dr. Ciccarelli, and Felipe Massa was there. Jarno Trulli came to train there. A lot of Formula 1 drivers. And so for the young kids preparing themselves, it was a great motivation to see the real Formula 1 guys get in there and preparing themselves as well. And then I used to drive down to Bergamo, where the team was of Ginzani. And as a former F1 driver, you think, okay, I'm here at the best place because he knows how to run a Formula 3 team. And he had a Formula 3000 team, so he was really, with him, you could grow.
Yeah.
So it was a good experience. Had a good engineer. We had some decent results, some podiums, but nothing really special. And then the next year was better.
Yeah. So just think about like Ginzani. He's one of those guys. Obviously, he was like the back marker. He was like for our seller at the back there when I was growing up watching racing, and I just took to Piercarlo. I just thought he was charismatic. He was there just doing it because he loved it and because he could do it, and that's just the best way to go racing, isn't it? That's very cool.
Yeah, it is.
Very, very cool. Just quickly on that 2003 season. It kind of felt like a breakout year. You did pretty well in 02, but you took second. Is it on your first race of the season? I think. Did you expect to do that?
No, it was a good start. And with guys like Marcus Winkelhock and Ryan Briscoe, who was a junior Toyota Formula 1 driver already. Some fast Japanese guys. It was a great start. Never a second chance to leave a good first impression. So to get to the European Championships and the podium straight away was good. And then later on in the season we got a few more. But I also realized I'm not in the right place to really give myself a true opportunity. If you want to see if you're good enough, you have to get a seat at the best team. And Ginzani wasn't the best team. We all know that. So I thought, okay, the next move, whatever I'm going to do, if I move up to Formula 3000, which I did, I said, I want to test with the two best teams. I want to test with Arden and with Coloni. And then I'm not fast enough or somebody else is faster and gets the seat, okay, then it's me. But now I always had the question mark, was it the machinery that I couldn't fight for victories consecutively every weekend? Or was it just me just being fast enough? So then in 3000 I got the answer because I went to the best team and I was able to get straight away the good results. And Arden convinced me in a way that Christian Horner was running the team back then, and the way he prepared. I remember in Jerez de la Frontera, the pit boxes were painted the day before by all the mechanics from Arden. The clothing of Arden Motorsport was ready for the mechanics to wear. It just looked immaculately clean.
It was a professional outfit. It was.
Yeah, it just looked fast and looked professional, the team. And then I moved to Coloni for a test I saw mechanics shouting at each other in Italian, throwing toolboxes, and there was a bit of food. And one guy was eating a pizza, the other one, the car looked like shit, but it was super fast, the car. And for them, that was the most important. So I still decided then to sign with Arden, and then I got my teammate Liuzzi.
Yeah. Sorry, just saying what you did about Cologne, and I don't mean to upset anyone here, but that does sound like the most Italian setup ever.
It was an Italian setup because they were very proud that we have the fastest car, we have Giorgio Pantano, and we're good. But it just didn't look as clean and sharp, and I think that is also a reason Christian Horner is such a successful team boss at the moment in the bigger team in Formula One, because it was back then already very structured.
Yeah, absolutely, and because obviously it was his team that he set up, wasn't it? The Arden team, and he's always done things that way, from what I can see from the outside looking in. Just quickly on the car, though, obviously you stepped up from F3 to F3000. Now, it's a slightly different era, but when in the late 80s, when I was watching F3000, I was watching, this is when Johnny Herbert was racing and Martin Donnelly and these guys. I remember watching them as a kid thinking these guys are absolutely insane because those cars are ridiculous. They're just ridiculously fast. Was it a big, for you as a driver, was it a big jump from F3 to F3000 in terms of the speed and handling? Or?
Massive.
Was.
You needed to go to the gym to get some muscles because there's no power steering and the wheels are way bigger. The horsepower is more than twice as much. Aerodynamics is twice as much. So it was a big step. And therefore, this medical center I was that Formula Medicine, they really prepared me well for Formula 3000. So I was eating salmon 3 times a day and hitting the gym 3 times a day, just to make sure you're strong enough to hold the wheel. Because the tests in Barcelona, for example, you had the fast 2 right corners. I just had to put my elbow against the inside of the monocoque just to hold on through that corner. Wow. Because otherwise the wheel would just rip out of your hands and you would crash. It was a beast, the car to drive, but it worked for my driving style. Because straight away I was up the pace, I was winning races and podiums, so I was very comfortable in that car.
Yeah, that's cool. That's amazing. We think of was it 130R, isn't it, the left-hander at Suzuka, and that must be unbelievable in one of those.
Yeah,
very cool. Just in a comment, actually, just talking about Italians, we've got Sheila Kersley. Sheila, she runs along with her husband Alex. They run cars in the Hyundai and in the Junior Saloon Car Championship. So they love an Italian driver at Kersley Motorsport, Luca Anzanello. Yes, I can vouch for Luca. If you want to check him out on social media, he is, again, one of the most Italian guys ever, and he's absolutely brilliant. He's a great driver and a great character. So yeah, Luca Staccini Anzanello. Hi, Luca. If you see this, very good to see you, man. And do go and check out Kersley Motorsport. Yeah, big fan.
So this says,
there we are. What's that? Spa-Francorchamps 2004 winning driver.
Formula 3000.
F3000.
But look at the size of this cup. If you're the winner, so you're like this as a winner.
Yeah.
And then you finish second in Super League Formula and you get this. But this one tasted really sweet. To win in Belgium was like a home victory.
Yeah, and especially in that car as well on a circuit like Spa.
I remember. I'm going to tell you a story.
Was this the Eddie Jordan thing?
Well, yeah, that was the Eddie Jordan thing, but it was also the Christian Horner thing that came up to me before the race. He said, "Guys, this is the most proud moment for a team boss ever because we qualified first and second. It was Liuzzi was on pole, I was second in the whole Formula 3000 field. So he said, I'm very proud. And back in those days, on a Saturday afternoon, all the Formula One team bosses would walk along the grid and see if there's new talent, you know. But Christian was there as a team boss of Arden. He said, this is such a proud moment, but don't make it an embarrassing moment. If you touch each other, you have a big problem. The golden rule is obviously race each other fair and hard, but don't touch. I was like, no, Christian, this will never happen. You know, we have respect for each other, and it was pissing it down with rain. And I remember the start of the race was I decided to take off the roll bar because I thought it would rain more. And Liuzzi said, keep the roll bar on. I think the sun will be shining because if I look in my mirror, I see the sun coming. Typical Spa-Francorchamps Belgian weather. It can rain on one side and sun on the other. Anyway, so we went through to Eau Rouge after the start, up the hill, and I just saw spray. I didn't even see where he was, and I just decided to go to the right, to the inside. On the braking zone, I drove it straight in the side of Liuzzi at that corner. But I came out first and continued away. But at that moment in time, I thought, okay, if we crash here now, 5 minutes ago, he said, don't make it embarrassing one. If we crash here now, I'm not going to walk back to the paddock. I'm just going to walk through the woods back to my house in Amsterdam. But it ended up my most important victory of my career. So it was really nice experience.
Yeah, I mean, and I hope you don't mind me saying that was the only win that you had that year. Because obviously,
there were only 10 races. The other 8 were won by Liuzzi, and there was one more Tocacello, and that was it.
Yeah. I guess like Liuzzi was, number one driver, I suppose.
Definitely. It was his second year in the series, so he had to win the championship.
Yeah, and you knew that. I did read somewhere though. It was that weekend you were kind of looking at potential F1. Just looking to see what might be around. And is it? I don't know how true this is. This could be complete nonsense that someone's made up. But is it true that you saw Eddie Jordan at Spa and you said, I want to drive one of your cars? And he said something like, Fernando Alonso won this race by half a minute a few years ago. And if you do it, then we'll talk, or something like that.
Yeah, he did.
Did it really happen? That's cool.
I was on the grid, same as the moment when Christian said, don't let it become an embarrassing one. I was like, no, I won't. And then I was still waiting at my car, looking at all the team bosses. Even Ron Dennis would walk the grid, quickly scan a few drivers, and then walk off. Then I saw Eddie Jordan with his yellow, fantastic outfit. And I just, in my mind, so a thing said, this is the moment. This is it. Go to him, and say what you want. So I walked over and said, Mr. Jordan, pleasure to meet you. My name is Robert Doornbos, and I'm on the front row of this race. And I want to become a Formula One driver. Not like I want to become world champion, whatever. I just want to become a Formula One driver. I want to drive one of your cars one day. And he looked at me and he said, good for you, son. And then he walked off. I was like, okay, that didn't really go in my mind the same way. So we have to go again. No, I said, sorry, you don't understand. I really want to drive one of your cars. How can I drive one of your cars one day? What should I do? And then he looked at me and he sort of smiled. And he said, Robert, okay, if you win this race by half a minute, a few years ago, there was a Spanish kid, did the same. Then you're really outstanding because all these cars are the same. You can come to my motorhome and I'll get you a seat and I'll get you a test drive.
Wow.
And I said, okay. I said, wow, amazing. I'm going to try to do that. I said, can I ask which driver was it? He said, his name is Fernando Alonso. And I was like, yeah, fuck. I'm not Fernando Alonso. I'm Robert Doornbos.
No pressure.
I'm not a world champion. So jumping in the car, it just went from good to better to fantastic to amazing because I won it with 38-second advantage. And what happened then is that I walked straight, not to the team, but I went straight to the Eddie Jordan motorhome. And I said, Eddie, I won the race. And he looked at me. He said, okay, well done. Let me talk to your sponsors and you can be in one of my cars. So 3 weeks later, I was driving the Jordan in China. And I remember sitting in the plane, getting a manual for one of those steering wheels, learning it while flying out to China.
Wow.
It was a roller coaster. So my dad always says you have to be a little bit cheeky for one part of your life, and the other part you just be even more cheeky and you try to, with respect, you can talk to people like this, and sometimes good things happen. So that was a very good day for me.
Yeah, you kind of sometimes just have to stick your nose in somewhere. And
that was what I'm looking for.
And try and
And the funny thing is, I stayed with Eddie for a while as his test driver, and obviously sponsors had to pay for it. That's how Formula One works. You have to triangle the team, the driver, the sponsor. And not so long ago, I think 1 year ago, I saw him at Goodwood. I saw him in Monaco, and afterwards we went to Goodwood. And he said, "Hey Robert, how are you? How's life?" I said, "Hey, good. How's you, Eddie? All good." I said, "Yeah, I'm still in the same apartment there in Monaco. Your sponsors are still paying for it." I was like, "Oh."
Typical Eddie Jordan. That's
Yeah.
fantastic. Yeah. So that is great. As you say, though, I mean, if you want something, you have to just sort of, you have to try and
that's a
push
lesson.
it.
If there's a lesson, just go for it. Like I said, I did. If you look at the championship, I finished third. Why should I get a chance in Formula One? But I was just in the right time at the right spot, and I performed at the right level that weekend. So then it happened.
Yeah, that's the way you do things. I mean, it's a completely different level, but that's how I get interviews with some of the cool people I've spoken to. I just keep going. Come on, have a chat. Let's talk about you.
Yeah, because and then at one stage I put you in my spam box, but you still kept coming. With I just couldn't get rid of you. So then I decided, why not?
That sounds like me. Yeah, sorry about that. But no, that's very cool. And as you said, you were testing with Jordan in F1 in China because was it Giorgio Pantano had been driving? He then left, and then like Glock and went in there, and you took over. What was that first time like in a Formula One car? I mean, it must have been just a dream come true.
Yeah, eyeballs out. First test, the whole world is watching. Like, why wouldn't I get a test somewhere in south of Spain where there's nobody and just prepare yourself? No, I did it at the Formula One official Grand Prix in China, first free practice.
It's on the Friday, wasn't it? Yeah.
On the Friday, and so all the cameras were there, and you just didn't want to stall the car for sure, and then go on track, and just waiting. You have the pit limiter. Then you press the right button on the top right, and it just fucking launched off. I couldn't believe what happened. It was a rocket ship. The sound of the V10 Ford engine, it was just amazing. Upshifting. But then the braking is the most impressive in the Formula One car. So what I did, I had my visor open a little bit. And you have the long straight in China through the hairpin. Such a long straight before the hairpin. I look in my mirrors while doing 300 kilometers an hour, and I just see dust flying up in the air because I was the first car ever to do a lap on the track because it was just finished building.
Of course,
so the track was a mess, but I didn't care. And then the braking zone arrived, and I thought, okay, this is it, Robert. This is it. This is what you have been waiting for. You have to hit the brake pedal so hard, and you feel the G-forces, feel the deceleration. So I hit the brake pedal so hard that tears from happiness inside my eyes just hit the inside of my visor, and my head went down like this. And the moment I looked up, I was like, oh, I'm not at the corner yet, and I still had to accelerate to the corner.
Wow.
I couldn't believe the stoppage power from 300 to 0 in 60 meters. I couldn't believe it. It's just the most impressive part of a Formula One car, if you ask me.
That's astonishing because so many people focus on the speed and things like that. But
the speed you get used to. I mean, even accelerating up through the gears for you, it's not a problem. You just hang there. You're like at home in your bathtub, and you just go like. It's amazing. But then the power on the brake and cornering is next level.
Wow, that's incredible. That's very, very cool. And obviously, you tested the car like 3 times on 3 different weekends or things like that. Excuse me. And I guess after that, you were thinking, yeah, Formula One. This is for me. How did you get to how did you get like the deal together to go to Minardi? How did the Minardi deal come about with Paul Stoddart and all that? Because you are the last ever driver to have signed for Minardi, the cult team, one of my favorite teams.
Bam! It was Paul had something with Dutch drivers. Obviously, Jos Verstappen was racing for him in 2003. And then we had the same sponsor, Jos Verstappen and I had. So the sponsor said, okay, let's talk to Minardi, see what we can do. Because there was a problem with Patrick Friesacker. I think he was there as a teammate of Albers, and he lost his backing from Austria.
Yes.
And I think
that was all a bit funny.
That was a bit a bit of a funny story. And so that was my opportunity to jump in. We got the seat. So I made my official debut as a Formula One driver in Hockenheim.
Yeah.
And also that was in between weekends, quickly change, get used to a new car in official practice, no time to test.
Wow.
It was 2 Dutch guys in one team. There was a lot of media circus around, and then the Villeneuve story came out as well. That Villeneuve a few years before told me to go racing, and now we're on the grid together. I qualified, 16th. He was 15th.
Yeah.
And after a few laps racing, he touched me, he hit me, it was just an unreal weekend. And to be honest, if you drive for Minardi, that there's a different mindset, because the team, yes, it's a fantastic team, there's a lot of history, you feel the vibe, but you're just fighting these guys who had 5 times as much money. I know our annual budget was 80 million, and with the Ferrari it was 380 million. So.
With the greatest respect to Minardi, and then they were never gonna, they were never gonna be on the pace. And I mean, they had a few races.
Well, you could fight. You had a Grand Prix and a Grand Prix. Our target was to beat Jordan and beat your teammate, and that was my maximum Sunday. So I felt like a world champion on a few occasions, because I beat 3 cars, and 2 cars just didn't make the finish, and I finished 14th. And I remember driving back to the garage, and the whole team was cheering. I was like, but I finished 14th.
Really?
Wow. It's a different league, but a great way to start your career, and also to end your career. It was funny, in China was the last race of the season. And I remember Paul was so emotional that when I crossed the line, I was running in 12th place. I had quite a good race actually in Minardi. A few guys crashed, but I kept it on the black stuff. I had the Jordans behind me and my teammate behind me, and I thought, okay, this is maybe top 8 got points. So points was impossible, but 12th or 11th in the Minardi back then was a really good result.
Yeah.
And I remember just going into the last lap, and then Alonso, who was winning the race, lapped me just before the last corner. But then he braked to wave to his team, so I unlapped myself again.
Right.
And not knowing this at the time, so my radio went berserk with Paul screaming and crying, and legend, the final race, you finished P11, you're such a big hero, blah 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 blah. And he said, wave to the crowd, enjoy your ride. So I started waving a little bit around to marshals, but then I had a few cars still blasting past me. I was like, why are they going so fast on the in-lap? So then I went on the radio and said, Paul, is it the in-lap? Oh, no, it's still the last lap of the race. Push. What do you mean push? He told me to slow down. So, anyway, there was... and I think my teammate destroyed one car in the final race because he hit Michael Schumacher. You remember that in the warm-up lap?
Yes. I completely forgot about that. Wow.
Yeah, so it was quite a chaotic final race of Minardi Empire.
Yeah, that's lovely to hear, though. Obviously, the different kind of attitude, just happy to be, even just unlapping yourself against Fernando, things like that. That's very cool. I love that. Just very quickly before we move on, so I'm looking at the time, but very quickly, that first race in Hockenheim, firstly, did Jacques Villeneuve remember you?
He did.
He said, you made it.
He said, you made it. That was fast, you fucker. And good for you. And keep it on the black stuff. And then we had the racing incident. Yeah. And then he suddenly said to the media, he's too young, too aggressive. They shouldn't have given him a chance yet. He had to learn. And, that's Jacques. But I still see him sometimes. As we have good memories.
No, that's cool. Cool. And one more thing was like Hockenheim. Obviously, there's the big stadium section and things like that. On the grid before you got in the car or when you were there, did you just allow yourself? Before your first race, did you have a look at the crowd and think, "Wow, I'm about to do this"?
Yeah, the little pinch moment, like, okay, I'm an official Formula One driver now. I'm about to drive my first Formula One Grand Prix. This is super cool. Obviously, you have to embrace it. Doesn't matter if the car is fast or not. You're here. I shared the track. I wouldn't say I raced with these guys, but I shared the track with these guys at the same time. and it was just, you're part of the show, you know. It was just an amazing experience. But then I did the parade lap, and I got a little bit emotional, and I thought, okay, now focus. I know what I have to do. Then Paul came on the radio, or my engineer, together with Paul. Paul was always on the radio, next to the engineer. He was sort of like the sidekick of the engineer. And then the engineer said, we have a problem. You cannot do launch control anymore. You have to do manual start. I said, what? Yeah, there's a problem with your traction control, so you do manual start. Manual start? I've never done a manual start yet. It's just, that's burning rubber. So if you look back at the images in the race in Hockenheim in 2005, you see one guy at the back just smoking it up when the lights go out, just a fuming smoke everywhere, because I had 1,000 horsepowers just deployed on one clutch, and it was all or nothing. And yeah, it was crazy start to the race, but then it was chaotic first lap, and I made up some positions. But no, that was obviously a dream come true moment. Yeah.
Yeah, fantastic. And you know, and the results, you know, as you said, they were pretty much as good as like Minardi could have expected in those races towards the end of the season. Then there was like, obviously the takeover, which we know about with like Red Bull and Toro Rosso and things like that. Was there any opportunity for you to be in the car for the following year as a full-time driver? Because it was who was in there? I forgot now. It was David Coulthard, wasn't it? It was in there, and
yeah, David Coulthard and Christian Klein,
yeah.
who was sharing duties with Liuzzi.
Yeah, okay.
I think, and then Liuzzi went to the junior team, Toro Rosso. I had a contract with Minardi, which when Red Bull bought it, they had to honor one way or another. So then they said, okay, you're going to be our reserve driver. You do all the Fridays and OR testing work for Red Bull Racing, which was the bigger team. And I did a lot of testing. I did like 36,000 kilometers in 1 year. That's a lot of testing. Wow. And all the Fridays of all the Grand Prix weekends. So it was actually a good year. And later on in that year, I was able to make my debut because Red Bull was pushing Clean to perform better. And then they said, okay, the final 3 races are yours.
Yeah, that must have been amazing, because obviously you had got to know the car, and I guess it was with the backing of Red Bull, it was perhaps slightly better than the Minardi, I guess.
But much better. The crazy thing is, you have to understand, also for those of you who are watching, you cannot judge a driver by his machinery until you see him in a better machinery. So right, 80% of the equipment decides your result in Formula One. In Barcelona, my best time was, I don't know, we just mentioned a time, a 1:35. I drive in Barcelona with Red Bull, same driver, just a different day, and I'm like 1.2 seconds faster. It's because the car is just easier to drive. There's more aerodynamics, there's more grip, there's more traction. So I remember this guy driving his Ferrari. He would lap me on the circuit where you have the most, where you need the most downforce is Suzuka in Japan. So 2005 Suzuka, he was flying past me 2 times in the race. I just saw a red dot in my mirror, I saw a blue flag, and Michael was passed.
Wow.
Because the car was so much, I think 3 seconds per lap faster. And I was like this, driving the Minardi, keeping it in the S's and going side, turning in, oversteer, always fighting the car for an hour and a half. And I remember standing in Park Vermeer, looking for air. I was destroyed. And then he walked up to me, Michael, and he put a hand on my shoulder. He said, "Robert, that looked like hard work out there. Well done." You know, wow. I know it's not an easy car. And I was like, okay, at least he acknowledges that it's impossible to perform at a high level in this car.
And obviously he knows what he's talking about. You know, doesn't he, Michael? He was quite good.
He was quite good. He was quite good.
Nice to get that, like a bit of validation almost, just like, yeah, you know, you're kind of doing well in.
Yeah, keep it on the black stuff is already a great achievement.
Yeah, that's very cool. Your first race with like Red Bull, though, the full Red Bull team. Obviously having the better car helps, but it was your best result. Yeah, it was 12th in China, 13th in Japan, 12th in Brazil. It must have felt pretty good to have gone in there and got those results.
Well, the best part was to get in there in China and to out-qualify David Coulthard straight away, because that's a nice way of getting into the team and showing, you know, he was the #1 guy there, you know. So in the wet, it was always my favorite way of driving. I liked driving in the wet. And I had a great qualifying. I did a Q3 on my first outing. while all the other Red Bull drivers went out in Q2. So you feel the hero on a Saturday, but it doesn't matter because on the Sunday you have to show it as well. And then we arrived on Sunday, had a great start into turn one. There was Robert Kubica with his BMW. He just closed on me too much, so I broke the front wing.
Oh, yeah.
And I lost a great opportunity in my career. If there's one day that I say, okay, if I could have done that corner over, that I would have loved to do that, because then I think you would have had a top 6, top 5 perhaps finish, which would have been mega. Now I started last and drove back up to 12th, but the car was flying. I enjoyed the track, so those are one of those opportunities that it's really a shame. If you have 20 races, it's okay, but if you have 3 and this happens at the first one, it hurts.
Yeah, I'm sure. But still, get back up from where you were up to 12th. It's good, and it showed well. Excuse me. One thing I do want to talk about though, Interlagos. We all know it was the last race of the season. We all know how difficult it is. Well, we don't know. We've all seen as fans how difficult it is with G-forces and everything else. And I've asked this to a couple of people. But what is it like that last blast at Interlagos up the hill, left hand? It just looks absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, it is.
What it's like to do.
It's very important final corner up the hill, and then it's flat out, trying to be as smooth as possible with the steering, not scrub too much speed. But the Brazilians they're the most enthusiastic. Well, maybe the Dutch are even more enthusiastic, but the Brazilians are big fans, and you could hear them scream, like the noise of the engine, and talking about the V10 back then, even the V8s, under the grandstand, into the pit wall. It becomes very narrow. It just breaking into turn one like a roller coaster. It's a great, crazy part of the track, and one of the best of the year, to be honest. Also, the whole vibe of the Brazilian fans is amazing. It was dangerous also. You have to follow one route from the hotel to the circuit.
Oh, right.
You were not allowed to drive a different route. I remember the guys of Toyota were being cheeky, and they decided to drive a different route. Some of the engineers, they didn't arrive anymore at the circuit because they had to take a detour through the favelas. And in the favelas, there was somebody waiting and said, "Get out of the car." So the guys showed up in the end in the paddock, but only in their underwear. They had nothing anymore. No laptops, no clothing, no everything. They got stripped of everything.
Wow.
But they survived.
Wow. I mean, well, they got out of there, I suppose, which is a bit of a win. But my goodness me, and well, that's why you stick to the route, I guess.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's cool. I was just in a comment about the V10s from Sam Wallbank. He said the Epic Noise loves that era the best. Minardi were a great team. David versus Goliath. Yes.
Yeah, that's it, mate. That's it.
Yeah, fantastic. Just pretty before I just want to skip on to IndyCar very quickly, but was there any chance you could stay with like Red Bull or anything like that? Because I guess the contract was still with Minardi, wasn't it, or was it?
Yeah, the contract was still with Minardi, but so Christian said, "Okay, you've done well. You got your opportunity. You had to beat David, and which you did in quali, sometimes not in the race. So, but all in all, you couldn't really decide. So he said, there's a shootout between you and Webber. I think Webber was 0.008 of a second faster in Jerez. So it's hard to decide, to be honest. But Webber had the advantage of the Renault engines, and I didn't. So then Christian said, you can stay our test driver because you don't have the backing like Webber has. And we get you a seat in IndyCar or Champ Car, which I thought was nice.
Yeah.
But I also received a steering wheel from Christian Horner, and I thought that was a nice gift until I realized it was my goodbye gift.
You thought he was being nice, but he was just softening it a bit.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Well,
but I mean, great opportunities, forever grateful. And the US adventure was also something I really enjoyed.
Yeah, I'm a huge IndyCar fan. I could talk about it for hours, but I don't want to keep you too long. I just want to talk about a couple of things, though. Mainly the difference between the F1 and the Champ Car. It was the Panos, wasn't it? The Panos DP01 was the car.
Yeah, it was.
Very cool looking cars. I used to love those. I spoke with Will Power on here a couple of years ago, and you actually came second to him in Las Vegas, didn't you? I remember that for his first win. And he loved the cars. obviously completely different to an F1 car.
Yeah, completely different. It reminded me that's my overall there of my year in that championship.
Oh, excellent! Love that.
I had I had a really good year. I think 9 podiums, 3 wins or 2 wins, and second or third in the championship. So a very cool year. It started off with a bang in Las Vegas. I came from Formula One, so everybody was like, okay, what can he do? So I sort of felt like I had to prove myself again in the US, and the car reminded me more of Minardi / Formula 3000. So very physical car. Not too much downforce compared to F1 is nothing, but it was very fast, especially in the turbo boost mode, qualifying tires. I really enjoyed driving that car, and a great engineer who helped me find the right setup. And my first weekend, I finished second. I think the only driver that has ever done that was Nigel Mansell, your hero.
Good old Nigel, yeah. It's the European guys going over there and showing them how to do it, you see?
Yeah, it was fun. And then I had a great championship battle with Will Power and Sebastian Bourdais. And unfortunately, Justin Wilson isn't with us anymore, but he was also qualified. Big names at the end of the day, and great for me that I could be so competitive.
Yeah, and as you said, the great start. I mean, obviously there's the fuel issues, wasn't it, with Paul Tracy and things like that. But you got it to the finish in second. I saw that you qualified actually. Excuse me, behind Paul Tracy and Will Power, and alongside Alex Tagliani. Now, Tag came on Thursday last week.
Oh,
yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, he's cool. He's a cool guy. And I did mention that you were going to be on today, so he said he might try and watch it back. So if you do, Tag, hello.
Hi, Tag. I remember Tag had a really bad nut allergy.
Yeah, he spoke about it.
He almost died once in a hotel when he used the shower cream in the hotel just to wash himself, and then he found out that it was made of walnuts or something. So but a really fast driver as well. Very experienced in the champ car and a cool guy.
Yeah, he's a good guy. And he's made his own cookies now that don't have nuts in them, so that's very helpful for him. So that's pretty cool. He's sorting himself out. Just want to go very quickly. You got Rookie of the Year that year, which was pretty cool. Was that something that you were targeting when you went in there, or was it just?
Yeah, no, I wanted to make an impression because it was my first year on the US scene, and I enjoyed the US. I enjoyed being there, so I was hoping for a longer career there. So finishing rookie, and the championship fight ended just before the season finale in Mexico. So I still had a chance to win it there, but Bourdais was he was overall I had a better package. So. He won it.
Yeah, he was great. One thing I do want to talk about though, your first win, because you had 2. You had one at Mont Tremblant and one at San Jose.
Yeah,
you mentioned Bourdais. He wasn't happy with you, Bourdais, was he? When you won, because
there's a picture that he even didn't want to shake my hand.
Yeah, because it was raining, wasn't it? And he basically, it got much wetter, and he accused you of blocking him.
Again, it was raining, so I enjoy racing in the wet, like I said before, and I was flying. I had a good car. I love this track, Mont Tremblant. If you have never been there, you should go there. It's beautiful. I think it's owned by Lawrence Stroll.
Is it? Okay.
Family. Beautiful circuit, sort of mini Spa-Francorchamps. And then I know Bourdais, I saw him in my mirrors. Yeah, I blocked him a little bit, but afterwards he said, it was too much. You put me on the grass and blah, blah, blah. I said, if it's too much, the steward would have said something. So, you'd be happy for me. I won the race, shake my hand, and he didn't want to shake my hand. So he knew I was coming because I had 9 podiums already and now this victory. So I sort of had the momentum and I took the lead in the championship back then. So he felt uncomfortable because he was the defending champion.
Yeah, sure. I also know that the Americans called you Bobby D after that, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, because
it's an American nickname. It's great.
I think it's almost like a porn star name, to be honest. It is, but jumping the fence after my first victory, I could hear people say, "Hey, Robert Doornbos." They just couldn't pronounce it properly. Until one guy said, "Hey, Bobby D." I said, "You know what? That is the name I'm going to trademark. You got it. So from now on, I'm Bobby D."
Brilliant. That's fantastic. And when you won the race, obviously great feeling. You went like, it was one of the best bits of radio I've ever heard. Was it your team boss or your mechanic or someone said, "I'm going to need you to pit this lap for champagne"?
That was my engineer.
That is, I can't believe that nobody had done that before.
That was a good one, huh?
Absolute gold.
And to be honest, if you drink a bit of champagne then, after a race of so much adrenaline and being fit, you're a cheap date. I was drunk very easily.
Which is the way it should be. Absolutely right.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. We mentioned Super League. We'll come to that very shortly. You had a year out, went back in 2009 with Newman Haas, obviously, who had obviously Nigel had been there, and Mario and Michael and all that kind of a thing. The car, it felt like a nearly year. The car didn't quite seem to be on it that year. Was it just a frustrating year for you?
It was, to be honest, because I thought, okay, they beat me. If you can't beat them, join them. Bourdais went to the Formula One, and I went to their team. And sort of they had the legacy, you know. If you walk into the warehouse or the headquarters, you could see all the big names, all the trophies, and you're like, okay, this is the place to be. But for some reason, it was the last year of that car. It just felt heavy. It felt not. It never felt fast. I had I think a good day in Kansas, qualified second, had a reasonable day in Indy on practice, but the rest of the year was just average. So it becomes frustrating, yeah.
Yeah.
But it is what it is.
Yeah. You mentioned Indy. Anyone who watches this every week knows that I somehow shoehorn the Indianapolis 500 into every chat, even if it's got nothing to do with who I'm talking to, because I love it. I've been obsessed with it since I was 7. I'm now 43, and I mean, I got there in 2022 finally when Marcus Ericsson won. I was there as a fan the whole weekend. It was just absolutely
Mega.
The atmosphere is unreal. It's just the best thing. What was it like for you as a driver? Because
mega. I mean,
didn't
to
get
drive
to do
there, you have all these phrases. Arie Luijendijk was my coach. He said you have to respect the speedway. If you don't, it will bite you. So it's sort of like a build up to this huge thing, and then when you arrive in the center of the speedway, you're like, okay, it is a huge thing.
It's
and I did the first laps with the pace car sitting next to Arie, and he just drove all the way up to the wall and then turned in and all the way up to the wall, and I was like, fuck, Arie, what are you doing? I'm not a good co-passenger anyhow. And then I went out on my IndyCar run, and they put the wings up a little bit, like less than Monza, you know, just to give me the comfort of going flat. And then they started trimming, and at one stage I asked my engineer, I said, wow, the car is flying, man. I'm doing 380 kilometers an hour in the straight. He said, yeah, but next we're going to trim it below 0. I said, what do you mean below 0? Yeah, so you have 0 now. Now we're going minus, which means you get lift and you go even faster in the straight line. We try to hit the 400 kilometers an hour. And then if you turn into turn 1, you scrub off speed. I said, but I have no aerodynamics. It's back to the Formula 4 days, sitting in the bathtub, but then doing 400 kilometers an hour without brakes. What the fuck am I doing here? What's going on? So because they pull the brakes apart, so you have less friction.
Right.
And the car rolls faster. And if your pedal's all the way down to the floor, so if you want to hit the brake, you sort of have to pump the pedal to get some air into the system, and then do that for 3 or 4 laps, so you can suddenly hit the brake. Nuts.
Wow.
But then I started feeling comfortable going flat all the way around for 4 laps, and that was a good experience. If you've done that, it's almost like. So you turn into turn 1, you look at the wind socket, and you're like, okay, I can go flat here. But then you look into turn 3, and you see that the wind socket has changed.
Yeah.
So you have to change your balance, your weight checker, turning into that corner. So it looks easy maybe on TV, but you're constantly thinking about the circumstances, because one bit of wind, because you have no aerodynamics, it can just throw you into the wall. And I also felt that the wall hurts, it doesn't move.
Yeah, I mean, as I mentioned before, I've spoken with guys who have won the thing. Ari, and I've spoken with Danny Sullivan and Mario and Alonso and Will Power, and they've said that. I spoke with Will Power. He said he hit the wall before the safer barrier that they have now, and afterwards, and he said, yeah, it kind of wasn't fun the first time. He said when you hit it at that speed, it almost knocks you out for a minute because because you're going so
the
quick.
instant G is I will not forget. I think I had 32 G when I hit it. Going backwards, I lost the broken damper on the right hand side. So within 0.16 of a second, I was in the wall, and so bam, the 30 G impact, it really hurt your head. And then I kept sliding, and I remember my engineer saying at one stage, because I hit the wall in turn 1 and I stopped in turn 3.
Yeah,
because I couldn't stop the car, and he said, "The brake." I said, "What do you mean fucking brake? The whole car is broken. I can't brake anymore. I'm just waiting until it stops."
you're just sliding.
So, yeah, it's so fast. Then you know how fast you're going. Actually.
Yeah, it's brilliant. I mean, one thing I did say, I made a point, because obviously when you're sitting there, we sat on the outside of turn 4 and we spent the time just doing that all the time.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until I got my phone and just held it dead straight and watched the cars go past that you realize just how quick they're going. It's ridiculous. It's like, yeah.
And the crazy part from a driver is that you're there the whole month. You're testing and you're doing all these sort of days, a pole day and everything. Then there's a day nothing, and then you have race day. But if you have never been to a place where there are 380,000 spectators, turn 1 wasn't wide, but when the spectators are there, turn 1 looked like this, because you arrive to turn 1 and you only see people. You only see people, and you're like, okay, I have to turn here to the left. So it's yeah, that's really crazy. But the atmosphere, the vibe, I get goosebumps if I think about it. I'm a fan like you. I do all the commentary for the past 10 years, I think, for Dutch television for the Indy 500, because I love the place. I feel the place. Memories for a lifetime.
Yeah, that's the thing. People say it's just turning left. It's just another race. It's just a long race.
No.
Go and do it. Even if it's not your thing, go and do it.
So I've done Monaco, I've done Formula 1, and I've done the Indy 500. The 2 of the Triple Crown. I never reached the crown, but just to experience it was already really special.
Yeah, absolutely amazing. That's very cool. And I just love the fact that you get the feeling that the fans get. There's people that who've been going for 70 years and they still get the same feeling.
Yeah.
It's incredible.
I'm definitely going still. If I have time, because now it always goes together with Formula 1, so I have to do the commentary, and it's in the same weekend, as you know. But maybe one day I will skip Monaco. The first thing I do, get on a plane, go to Indianapolis. I want to see it again.
Absolutely. And if there's space in the suitcase, I'm going to put my hand up for it. I'll come with you. Okay, very quickly, someone did mention about the Super League series. This was, in case you guys don't remember, it's basically all the loads of football teams, and they had the team and everything. And you signed for AC Milan, which is a good
thing. I did. I'm just looking here. Well, there was another series called A1GP.
Oh, yeah. Oh, nice.
A1GP, sort of, you felt like a gold medalist if you won a race.
Wow. That's big.
There was a series with countries, which was also done very nice. Della Risassi, Ferrari engine. Yeah. Germany with Nico Hülkenberg. I was with Team Netherlands. Great series, but it went bankrupt. Then some of the people that were involved there started the Super League. They said, okay, we're going to do the same thing, but then with soccer teams. I raced for AC Milan and won a few races. Was nice, but it was almost like a lottery looking for entertainment. So you had to grab your grid position, and it's a lot going on in one weekend.
Yeah, it was a bit.
But good drivers like Antonio Pizzonia was there, and some faster British guys. So, but to be honest, it was also just to pay the rent.
Okay, yeah, it was a photo. I mean, it kind of felt like if they just sort of started, as you said, there was a lot of messing around with a few things. If they sort of stopped doing that and just gave it some proper backing, it felt like it could have been.
The
really
engine sounded great. The chassis was great. It was fun to watch. The rev of the engine was amazing, but it was getting too artificial.
Yeah, absolutely. And And even from like the commercial point of view, if you can get the football crowd, it's billions of people around the world watch it, and if you can get them zoned in on some motor racing because their team's in it.
I had one of those cups.
That'd be cool.
The big one. I won when I finished second in the championship. I went to show it to AC Milan. And AC Milan, I'm a huge fan of Milan, so that was quite nice. I walked in San Siro onto the pitch, handed over the trophy, and then I watched the game. So the involvement was definitely there, but it never became a success in the end.
Yeah, absolutely. And what a stadium that is! I went in 2011. I was there on holiday, and I saw the other Milan team. I saw Inter, but San Siro's wow, it's incredible. That was a cool thing on the pitch.
It is definitely.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. I also saw that you were at Feyenoord recently, weren't you? You were doing.
I'm a Feyenoorder. We don't win a lot, but when we do win, I can go on for years about it. So.
I have also been to Feyenoord.
In the Kuip.
In the Kuip, 2013. You beat Vitesse Arnhem 3-1. Remember that? In the snow in January. John Guidetti, I think it was, scored a hat trick.
Lovely place to be.
Oh, it was awesome. Very, very cool. Very, very cold. But
so you have a bit of Dutch interest there.
Sorry?
You have interest for the Dutch. You speak some words. You go to the Dutch football.
I can't really do the words. I think my family was from my grandfather was from South Africa and Dutch Afrikaans. I think there's some kind of link there.
Can you swear in Dutch?
No,
Godverdomme. Godverdomme.
Godverdomme.
Yeah, heel goed. Very good.
Is that like
fuck? Godverdomme.
Oh, there you go. There you go, folks. Happy days.
Happy days.
Yeah. Awesome. Now, very quickly, just another couple of little bits I want to pick up on. Obviously, you retired from racing and everything, but you did. I'm going to try and pronounce this correctly. A few years ago, you took the F1 car over the. Is it the Afsluitdijk?
Afsluitdijk.
Afsluitdijk. Now, I've been across there as well. Assen, I drove across there and everything. The statue with the guy bending over, which is a bit weird. That must have been awesome, though, driving.
That's typical Red Bull. Red Bull, I'm still involved with them. And Red Bull is a company that always thinks out of the box. So they call you a few weeks in advance and say, Robert, do you want to do something crazy? I said, yeah, drive my Formula One car on the streets. I said, okay, we're going to organize it. And so the bull never speaks, but when the bull does something, they do it properly. And this was one of those crazy things I've done. Yeah, that was fun. 320 kilometers an hour when the police car is trying to hit you with the speed gun, and they couldn't catch me. Catch me if you can.
Yeah, and they couldn't. Excellent. Obviously, you do like a lot of TV and media work. I get, you've been doing it for years. I guess that's something that you.
It's a passion. Really it's just my hobby. My weekend hobby now is talk about Formula One, analyze the races, go to the races, interview the guys. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, that's really. And I have to mention about when was it Max won in 2016? We saw the video with Tom Coronel who knocked you
jumping through the roof. Yeah.
When you flying off the sofa.
I fell off, and then I think the second victory we jumped through the roof. I mean, the whole of Holland was just absorbing this success.
Yeah, and just obviously on Max. I mean, obviously, there's people in the UK that we love Lewis and we don't like Max, and all that kind of nonsense that goes on. He is exceptional, isn't he? He's once in a generation.
We need to start another podcast to talk about him because he's next level.
Oh, we can do that. Absolutely. We can sort something out about Max, because there's lots of Brits moan about him, which is very unfair. He's something else. And I think he'll get it done this year. I think.
It will be tight. I'm going to go to Abu Dhabi. Hopefully, it will be another very exciting final as we've seen in 2021.
Yeah, fingers crossed. Fingers crossed for some more fun and games. Okay, fun questions. Just a few ones. You're going to rattle them off. Fun questions that I asked to everyone, and then we'll let you go. Let's have a go at. I think I already know this. Who was your favourite driver growing up?
Michael Schumacher.
Michael Schumacher. I thought it might have been. It was either him or Jacques, but then he drove into you in Hockenheim. So yeah.
No. Mike Schumacher.
Was there a series that you would have liked to have tried, but you never got the opportunity? Something like Le Mans or Supercars? Or...
Well, if I see prototypes now, then I would have loved to be as good as I was or as fit as I was, and then drive one of those prototypes now, because I think driving it now makes no sense. I would love to still, but I won't be competitive. I think that series was not, when I was involved in Formula One and IndyCar, there was not really the prototype racing that we see now. So I think prototypes is something I would have loved to try. Yeah, Le Mans.
Yeah, that'd be cool, and but certainly
in a proper car. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I think we're in like a real golden era of sports cars now, which is really cool. It's come up again, which is great. Okay, apart from Max, the obvious choice, who do you kind of respect most as a driver today, whether it be F1 or IndyCar or anything like that?
Well, I think Lewis Hamilton, you have to respect that he's still a 7-time world champion, and that he's still able to motivate himself, gets a chance at Ferrari, big move. He can only win if he wins the championship. If he doesn't win the championship, it looks like a failed move. So a lot of respect for him that he's around, like I do have for Alonso. But on the other side, guys like Scott Dixon are also something really cool to watch. They've never get a chance in F1. They maybe never wanted a chance in F1. They're happy in the US. They're successful. Alex Palou is a nice driver to watch, and but Scotty Dixon is something special. Having raced against him, he's on it.
Yeah, absolutely. He's one of those who doesn't get the credit he deserves because he's in IndyCar, unfortunately. He's superb. I think Scott McLaughlin's going to be the next one of those guys. He's he
looks very strong. Yeah, I agree.
Very cool. Okay, the best racing car you've ever driven?
I would say the RB2 Formula One car. Yeah, that's the fastest you will ever go. I tested the RB3 and RB4, but I think the RB2 was just really cool.
Yeah, that's cool. I mean, that kind of feels like an easy win. That one. It was a cool car. Favorite circuit to drive on?
I have a few. Like Spa, I would say, if I have to choose from everything, Spa. Spa is something special. 7 kilometers, just pure fun through the woods. In any car, it's fun.
Yeah, that feels about right. That's good stuff. Okay, the last question. I ask this to everyone, and I say every week. I don't know why I ask it, because it's a horrible question and there's no answer to it. But I'm going to ask it anyway. You've raced with and against some amazing drivers. Oh, hang on. Someone's just said F1 on the Nordschleife.
Yeah, that would in the video game, maybe. In the video game.
That would do. Lotus 72, something like that. Wow. Thank you, Nikki. That was cool. Someone just said about the Monaco and Indy 500 thing that you've got, doing one or the other. Someone said we won't have to worry because Liberty will remove Monaco very soon. Well, we hope not, but there's every chance, unfortunately. Anyway, okay, last question. You've shared the track with and against some amazing drivers. I'm going to name just a few, like Jose Maria Lopez and Esteban Guerreri and Glock and Bruni and Tracy and Takuma Sato and Rubens and Jensen Button and Jarno Trulli and Fisichella, Helio, Tony Kanaan, Dan Weldon, who obviously we lost 13 years ago today, unbelievably. So we're all thinking of Susie and the kids today. Ryan Hunter-Reay, Mike Conway, Nico Rosberg, Villeneuve, Power, Kubica, Franchitti, Dixon, Montoya, Raikkonen, Alonso, Schumacher. I mean, there's some amazing guys to share the track with. I'm guessing we can take Schumacher out of this particular one because he's. But is there anyone who just stood out as being maybe not better, but just more impressive, or just something that for you made them something special? If there's any of those,
Kimi.
That's a great. I don't think we need to elaborate on that because it's just Kimi, isn't it?
If I just say Kimi, that's enough. No, I mean, Kimi was just the way he didn't look interested outside the car and could just sit in the car and produce a lap time that everybody was like, and then get out and just walk away. I mean, it's just, I don't think there's anybody with such a natural talent. One title doesn't do him right, to be honest.
Yeah.
He was just so fast, unbelievable.
Yeah, and I think to go with it, just a great character. The fans love him. I mean, how can someone say so little?
Yeah, he's not a sponsor's dream, but he was definitely a special guy.
Yeah, absolutely brilliant. And I think I think that's a great way to finish up on Kimi Räikkönen, which is lovely. Right, I think we've rattled through everything as quickly as we could.
Yeah, we did. We did. You said it would be a 10-minute call, but it's 1.5 hours, mate.
Yeah. Oh, these always go on. These always go on longer. We've had some.
Well, I enjoyed it. Thank you.
We've gone on for some for 4 hours, which are crazy. But we've got through as quick as we can. Robert, thank you very, very much for coming on, having a chat. I really appreciate it.
Let's do another one. We talk about Max when he wins his 4th title.
Yes, Deal? I think that feels inevitable. Yeah, let's do it. Absolutely.
After Abu Dhabi, let's schedule another one, and then we talk about, or maybe somebody else won the title. But I think Max will win it.
It kind of feels like Max, doesn't it? I think he's done the work.
Yeah. I think so too. We'll see.
Great stuff. All right, guys, thank you for tuning in. I hope we've covered everything.
Thanks for all the questions as well. It was nice.
Yeah. And thank you very much. Comments still coming in. There's well over 100 of you. Thank you very much. And we'll see you next week. We are announcing another one tomorrow. So we'll see you next week. But Robert, thank you very, very much. It's been brilliant.
Bye, guys.